What's up, everybody? My name's Rob Simmons, and CinemaSins released their video for everything wrong with the Shawshank Redemption. Of course, that timeless movie, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but knowing CinemaSins, they'll find anything wrong with any movie. And it's a very long video, so let's jump in. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, the classic
Let's
intro.
go ahead and remove 5 cents now because it's sinful to even sin this movie.
Oh, negative
what was
sins.
Tim Robbins thinking in 1994 getting into movies called The Shawshank Redemption and The Hudsucker Proxy. They are two of his very best films, but they both competed for the least likely movie titles to be requested by sane people titles in 1994, barely edging out Car 54 Where Are You, Police Academy, Mission to Moscow, and North. Look, if you want to be innocent
Doesn't
of
make
killing your
sense.
wife, it's a good idea to not sit outside where she is f***ing her side piece with a gun and bullets in your possession. This has always bothered me about this movie. No, he didn't do the murders, but it sure as f*** seems like he seriously considered doing the murders.
Yeah, I
She
did
wanted
notice
a
that.
divorce in Reno.
I was doing some reading on divorce, and I found out that Reno was the divorce capital of the world at one time because they made divorces easier to get than other states. They created a whole industry out of it. But would it have been so hard in 1947 to get a divorce in Maine after his wife cheated on him? Why did she want to get one in Reno?
We have the accused at the scene of the crime. We have footprints, tire tracks. We have bullets strewn on the ground which bear his fingerprints. A broken bourbon bottle, likewise with fingerprints.
Look, all the evidence looks really bad for Andy. I'd probably convict him too if this is all I heard. But I'm beginning to think that his lawyer really did him. Because wouldn't there have been some mud, leaves, and footprints and in the cabin after he walked through this madness? If they found fingerprints on a broken bottle of bourbon, wouldn't they have seen fingerprints on the door and inside the cabin?
You strike
This
me
guy
as a
should be a
particularly icy and
CSI
remorseless man, Mr.
detective.
Dufresne.
A guy with no prior record is tried for murder, claims his innocence, and looks like he has no remorse for the crime. This judge has probably never seen anyone he thinks is innocent. There are 5 teacups and saucers behind him. Why? Does the parole board sometimes pause for tea?
There must
Maybe.
be a con
Nothing wrong
like
with
me
that.
in every prison in America.
You might expect me to send the narration here, except that this movie is the exception that proves the rule. The narration in this movie is its own character, like a campfire storyteller. He connects the vignettes and holds our hand through the entirety of the film's story. And if you can't understand the difference, then you probably think CinemaSins videos are intended to be taken seriously.
You speak
Yeah, they're comedy.
Butt steak? Butt steak? What kind of insult is that? Why not armpit burger or groin meatball? I'm a nitpicker by trade, so I find it hard to believe this many prisoners made it all the way here, from arrest to sentencing to prison, without losing their hats.
Rule number 1, no blasphemy.
What? That's rule number 1? Ahead of like don't kill, clean your cell, don't your pants, no fighting, no stealing. You made blasphemy the first rule?
I'll not have the Lord's name taken in vain in my prison. Any questions?
When do we eat?
This guy shoots off his mouth, probably so we can see what a brutal guard Kurgan is. But seriously, what the is this guy thinking? You might as well have said, eat a to Warden Norton.
True.
I want my mother. I had your mother. She wasn't that great.
Look, with all this commotion going on, there is no way the dude heard that fresh fish guy say he wanted his mother.
Yeah, especially since he was really quiet.
Is this something Hadley's never seen before? By this point, the idea of going fishing must be a well-known activity to all the guards, so wouldn't they be on alert for it? And I know these prisoners are probably not very smart, but surely they knew making this kind of racket would bring the guards in, right? It feels like the very beginning of this movie really wants you to know how much of a dickhead Hadley is, as if everything else he does in this movie won't prove that. This internal beating of the new fish prisoner is almost as over-the-top disturbing as that Mel Gibson axe wailing in The Patriot, and it only loses out because The Patriot went for blood, and this scene here is clearly avoiding the blood. But still, goddamn,
Whoa.
man.
If I hear
Spoiler
so much
for the
as a mouse
Patriot.
fart in here the rest of the night, I swear by God and Sonny Jesus, you will all visit the infirmary.
Okay, first of all, and I realize he's being colloquial, but mouse farts are not audible to the human ear. Second, threatening to send every prisoner to the infirmary is a way empty threat. The prison itself is nearly overrun with prisoners. The infirmary is not as big or bigger than the prison as a whole, and cannot house all the prisoners. The infirmary is finite in size, is my point.
Are you going to eat that?
Hadn't planned on it.
Do you mind?
I mean, I want to feed this bird I found, but I'd rather you think that I love the taste of maggots first.
It's a terrible shame about your horse coming in last and all.
Yeah, Andy didn't make any sound on the first night, but how would you say he came in last? The only asshole who
By
was
saying
crying or
quiet.
anything was the dude who got the beat out of him. Do you even win anything if your guy comes in second? I don't care if it's college dorms, high school gym classes, or prisons, I'm sinning herd showers.
Oh, I would
Wasn't
do the
until
same
a
thing.
month went by that he finally opened his mouth to say more than 2 words to somebody. As it turned out, that somebody was me.
Well, not to get too technical, but he did ask the infirmary guy the name of the dude who got killed before Die Hard 2 told him to shut up. How do you know that you're the first person to whom he said more than 2 words? Unless it's mandated in the prison, why would you button the top button of a shirt like this?
Quartz. Some mica, shale, limestone.
Geology. So if Red is a guy who can get stuff, and it's known enough among prisoners that newcomer Andy here already knows it, why don't the guards know it? And if you tell me they do and they're paid off, do you think that's less sinful? And if you question prisoner knowledge working its way back
Maybe it's
quickly
an
to the
inner
guards,
circle of the
do you have
prisoners.
any idea how prisons work?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say I liked Andy from the start.
Unreliable narrator alert. The last 10 minutes have shown that you hated Andy for being so well adjusted to prison, he cost you 2 packs of cigarettes on that first night. You've been looking at him with
Maybe you
absolute
warmed up
total
to him.
disdain until this very moment. Brooks gives Andy a book and then keeps walking forward, when we've already seen that Andy's cell is the last one on the row. Where is Brooks going? Do Boggs and the other sisters work in the laundry with Andy? I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't, since I haven't seen them once near the washers and dryers during these laundry scenes. Yet Boggs seems to know when Andy has been sent on an errand so the movie can have its prison is no fairy tale world scene.
More than 100 men volunteered for the job. Wouldn't you know it? Me and some fellows I know were among the names called.
Great, awesome.
Nice.
How the does Red have this much pull in this prison without being on the warden list? The very instant the warden finds out Andy is good with numbers, he puts him to work. But somehow Red has built up a vast empire of snitches, smugglers, and stooges, all unbeknownst to the warden. I call bullshit. And no other prisoners that wanted the outdoor details screamed, hey, those guys all eat at the same lunch table every day. They're all friends. How'd they all get randomly drawn? And yeah, the evil guard would have beat them to death if they did, but still. Also, I'm not
Movie
saying
logic.
prisons aren't dirty and don't have a prisoner with massive power. I'm just saying this movie presents a warden that either tamps down or leverages any prisoner with power, except for Red. Also, I'm glad all his friends, including Andy, get picked for the roof resurfacing. But at this point in the film, he and Andy have not been shown to be best of friends yet. Andy asked him for
time
a
has
rock
passed.
hammer, and Red said something about liking him immediately. But the only thing that happened since that scene is Andy getting brutalized by the sisters. It's a small nitpick, sure, but Andy hasn't proven himself yet to Red to get this special job.
Mr. Hadley, do you trust your wife?
This he overhears a tax conversation, knows he can help, knows he can leverage that help for better
Shows how
treatment
smart
with
he
his
is.
pals, and he opens with, do you trust your wife? Not, I can help you keep all that money. And sure, the movie needs a dramatic moment when he gets dangled over the edge of the roof, but it makes no logical fucking sense whatsoever. And that's what we're here to point out, goddammit.
Because if you do trust her, there's no reason you can't keep that 35,000.
I mean, it's
There it
amazing
is.
that Hadley is even able to restrain himself from throwing Andy off the roof here. I feel like Hadley likes throwing people off roofs more than inheriting $35,000 tax-free. Checkers.
And we can be kind of friends, okay?
Yeah, I guess.
That guy got you a work detail on the roof. And thank God he did, because then you were able to prove yourself to both your fellow inmates and the guards. I'd say Red is a friend for f***ing certain. This might be
Oh,
a
yes.
sin for the movie Gilda. In fact, it is a sin for the movie Gilda. This motherfucker asks her if she's decent while he and another man are in the room with her.
I understand you're a man.
So, CinemaSins within
Andy Refrain
CinemaSins.
Dufresne repeats the phrase, I understand you're a man that knows how to get things, to a man he's already gotten things from. Is this the passphrase you need to say to Red before he puts his smuggling cap on?
What do you want?
Maybe it is.
Rita Hayworth.
Andy never says poster during this conversation, but Red seems to know that this means he wants a Rita Hayworth poster. And Red even says it'll take weeks to get it, meaning it's harder to get a Rita Hayworth poster than it is to get a rock hammer. Also, disrupting everyone's movie experience so you can ask for a poster of Rita Hayworth. Like, Andy couldn't have waited until the end of the movie to ask? Or ask the next day? Did he feel
Maybe you
compelled to
figure
make
it
a
out.
request during
Spoiler,
a
they
Rita
can make the
Hayworth movie?
title before then.
This happened all the time back in the late 40s. People were always beating you over the head about watching Gilda. Also, I slowed this fight scene down. What the f*** is this guy doing? Did he think Andy had a gun? No, he has a movie reel. And this dude turns to the door
Maybe-
for some
maybe
reason.
Andy
The door which
startled
is
him.
locked because they kicked the projectionist out a minute ago.
Watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh.
Things I used to say to my college girlfriend ends up in an Oscar-nominated movie.
But I prefer. I'm the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
John chapter 8, verse 12.
Bible verse battles.
Can't say I approve of this.
No,
We find out later that this poster is covering up the hole
not
Andy's digging
battles.
to escape the prison. So I'm wondering, since Warden Norton is a Bible-thumping dickface, why didn't Andy get a poster that was way less likely to be taken down? Like a religious parable or something. Like the when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you poster. This is probably the dumbest thing Andy does in the whole movie. And that's after killing his wife and her lover. Yeah, I said it. Elmo Blatch was innocent. Also, the only reason Andy doesn't get busted for his chess figures and sexy lady poster is because this inspection is a ruse, and the warden came here with his own agenda, to get Andy to cook his books for him. Otherwise, on a normal inspection, the Rita Hayworth poster gets confiscated and he's never allowed to tunnel out. And there's no way Andy could have known his first cell inspection would be a recruitment, and they would therefore ignore his hot lady poster. Excuse me? Judgment with an E? Where are we, Great Britain? I hate sewing mistakes.
Easy peasy, Japanese.
I know this is the 1950s, but that's somethingist.
How about expanding the
Racist.
library? Get some new books in there.
Gonna ask for something. Ask for pool table.
Right, and put pool cues in the hands of convicted murderers. Do you leave in prison?
Yeah,
bro?
those will make
So Andy
pretty
is so good
effective
at doing
weapons.
taxes, the opposing intramural prison guard team rescheduled the season, and they all brought their W-2s so Andy could do their taxes as well. My question is, why are they all in baseball uniforms? The full team is going to be at least 20 guys, probably 30. Doing taxes for each of them is going to take hours, if not a day or two. Why wear the game day uniform just to stand in line and get your taxes done for free? All I'm saying is that there's no way the intramural softball tournament and the taxes are on the same day.
I can't take
Right.
care of you no more, Jake. You're gone now. You're free.
Except you domesticated him, and now he is woefully unprepared to survive life in the wild, but go on with your optimistic self. Also, I bet he's glad he taught that bird English before he got parole. Otherwise, he's just going to keep flying back, expecting Brooks to feed him. Wearing a brown hat
good
with a
point.
black suit. Brooks' story and eventual suicide is the heart and soul of this movie. It's the very thing that Andy and Red and the rest are desperate to avoid turning into. A prisoner so institutionalized he simply cannot function outside the prison system. Makes me cry every time, and I'll take a sin off.
Me too.
You tell me, stick, they're all addressed to you.
These crates of books from the government also came with a letter that explains what they are. It's an answer to something everybody knows Andy's been trying to do, but this movie never shies away from the opportunity to make Hadley be an asshole, so he's super upset about this trivial bull. He's like CinemaSins with a billy club.
Good for you, Andy.
It only took 6 years.
Movie suggests writing letters to elected officials makes a difference.
I'm gonna go pinch a loaf.
A
Pinching a
long-term
loaf.
difference.
When I come back, this is all gone, all right?
How much of a loaf are you pinching, dude? There are a ton of crates here that Andy has to haul down to the library without any help. This Andy plays opera for the entire prison scene is classic. But how about this gangster move of pretending he's going to turn it off and then pumping up the volume in glorious you to the establishment? But also,
Yeah,
Andy
I knew
finally
it.
gets his
Sin off.
library supplies after years of badgering the state senate, and his first move is to do the loudspeaker music thing, possibly incurring the warden's wrath and potentially jeopardizing all that new library ever even making it to the library. And yeah, he was having a moment, but he gets his ass beat, thrown in the hole, and I still don't know why the warden let all the new records and books still go to the prison library after this stunt. Also, green beans, baked beans, fruit salad, bread, and a huge-ass slice of what is either Spam or ham loaf. Either way, these 1940s prisoners are eating better than the 1990s me did in high school.
Had to go through
I
all
wouldn't
your
be so sure about
comparators. I
that.
hope you don't mind.
That means Andy gets yet another punch on his disloyalty card. He's got 3 alone for that hope speech a minute ago. You don't want to get 10 punches on that when you're in prison.
He wrote 2 letters a week instead of 1. Appropriations Committee voted an annual payment of $500 just to shut him up.
So, wait, was writing letters like writing angry tweets back then? Why the f would a letter be annoying? Can't you ignore them like another piece of junk mail?
By Alexandre Dumbass. Dumbass.
Dumbass.
Why does Andy
Dumas.
question Haywood like he has no idea what Haywood was just trying to pronounce? He knows the book is The Count of Monte Cristo, and he knows who wrote it. So why is Haywood's common and hilarious mispronunciation such a mystery?
That was also the year Warden Norton instituted his famous Inside Out program.
Red now tells us about Warden Norton's Inside Out program, where we find out that inside Hadley's brain, there's nothing but 4 angers. This guy walks up to the warden on site of one of the prisoner off-site projects, and why is the warden even out here at all?
I don't run the
Supervise.
scams, Red. I just process the profits. It's a fine line, maybe, but also built that library and used it to help a dozen guys get their high school diploma.
You're right, Andy. Getting people their high school diplomas erases all the fraud. When you think of it that way, it's really kind of easy to justify.
Hey, come on,
Well, it makes you
boys.
either of them
Moving
outside
like
prison.
molasses, making me look bad.
We liked him immediately.
But why?
Thing is,
His
he,
charisma.
don't read so good. Well,
Andy would be amazing at CinemaSins. But if we're going to go all high and mighty with grammar, how about during the Gilda scene where Andy said, "I understand you're a man that knows how to get things." Wouldn't that be, "I understand you're a man who knows how to get things"? Get it right, Andy, you Damn, dude, you have a whole fucking chalkboard and you use a third of it to write the alphabet really close together. How about using your available space and, god damn it, what is that lowercase q doing? Doing your students' work for them. Jesus, how many pencils does Tommy need to take this test?
This place!
Movie theater workers. If you haven't used this phrase yet, then you are working at a movie theater wrong. Andy retrieves Tommy's test from the trash so that he can set it in, and I just want to see the look on the face of the guy who needs to grade this. And by this time, were they feeding these things into computers to grade? Even more hilarious.
feel bad. Let him down.
Never mind that. How the f
No,
are
you
you
didn't.
drinking Coke from a bottle right now, prisoner 46419?
A glass bottle batch.
Big, twitchy, kind of roomy you pray you don't get. You know what I'm saying?
As Tommy brings up Elmo Blatch, he tells them that he's the type of guy you pray you don't get. But at Shawshank, these guys have their own cells and probably don't know what he's talking about. They have it pretty amazing at Shawshank. It's insane that apparently nobody noticed during the Andy Dufresne murder trial that the house was also robbed during the whole thing. But even
Yeah,
more
amazing
insane is that
coincidence.
Elmo Blatch decided to rob the place while the golf pro was there. I mean, this is a really out-of-the-ordinary brand of stupid. He even prefaced his story about how he got a job at a country club to case rich people's places. Doesn't casing involve knowing when the owner isn't there?
I have to say, that's the most amazing story I ever heard. What amazes me most is you were taken in by it.
Gaslighting. Also, what else did Andy expect the warden to do? Andy is knee-deep in the warden's illegal money laundering. Andy should have contacted outside counsel and then...
Yeah, no way the
procured
warden
a
would
trial.
help with that.
Instead...
How can you be so obtuse?
Math insults. Several folks hear this warden wants to talk to you thing, and so when dude goes off and gets killed and it's ruled an escape attempt, do all these fools just stay quiet about having witnessed the warden's invitation on the now dead guy?
No, the warden knows how to pull strings.
Andy casually mentions the name of the town where he's going to go after he escapes and hopes Red will remember it. If a buddy of mine just randomly said someplace in Mexico that he'd love to go to, I would instantly forget it by the time we were done talking.
You know what Mexicans say about the Pacific?
No.
They say it has no memory.
Ah, this sounds so poetic. You go to a place like the Pacific Ocean that has no memory. That sounds amazing. Also, it can probably be said about every body of water on Earth.
This is pipe dreams.
Red tells Andy that his plan is nothing but pipe dreams, and this is the clearest example of Shawshank shadowing there is.
It's a black, volcanic glass. There's something buried under it I want you to have.
On top of the Mexican town, Red needs to remember he needs to find a hayfield in Buxton with a long stone wall that contains a piece of black volcanic glass. Even though volcanic glass
And he has to
is
remember
supposed
for a
stand
very
out in the
long
middle of all
time
this.
after
This is a
Andy,
chore.
well, you
It's
know.
like Andy is creating the first ever role-playing game for Red. A Red Dead Redemption?
Get my stuff down to the laundry and shine my shoes. I want them looking like mirrors.
Caring about your shoes. I mean, honestly, how often do you really look at a man's shoes?
Nothing left but some damn rocks on the windowsill and that cupcake on the wall. Let's ask her.
This is a very specific line of insanity that's going to help Warden Norton solve the mystery of how Andy escaped. Also, imagine if he doesn't get mad enough to throw the rocks. Imagine if he throws the rocks in all directions except the poster. Also, this is a tremendous reveal, and it's almost sin removal worthy. But this brings up the question of how Andy was able to reattach the poster so tightly to the wall after he climbed into the hole.
There be no bomb pegs.
Now I shall duly remove three sins
poster.
from one of the best reveals in cinematic history.
Oh, yeah.
An old rock hammer, damn near worn down to the nub.
It's laughable that Andy was able to tunnel so deeply using that rock hammer, which got worn to the nub. But why didn't Andy ask for a new rock hammer in all that time if it was getting worn down? Luckily for Andy, he had conveniently timed lightning and thunder helping him with his escape tonight. No doubt he picked tonight because he knew it was going to rain. But what if it didn't? And what if it didn't come with lightning and thunder? How does the sewage pipe go from so full and pressurized that it shoots up into his face to so empty a whole-ass Tim Robbins-sized man can easily fit in it without having to swim in like 3 seconds? The euphoria of Andy's escape, this shot, that Thomas Newman score, this is a folks. It doesn't get much better than this.
Yep.
Did you add this
I knew
to
it
your
would track sins.
Who does this? Was there not a post office or mailbox nearby? This is the laziest way to mail something, because you carried it out of your way to just ask somebody else to do it. God damn it, the newspaper has those classic paragraphs of nothingness that infest nearly every movie in the 90s. A whole bunch of vague nonsense concerning a government function, about nothing in particular. Constituents were asked about the veracity of this being a sin, and most agreed that it was. Many were very concerned, and we called those people Susan Collins. By the way, is this really how Norton would find out he's in trouble? Wouldn't the newspaper call the cops and tell them about the story before they published it?
Norton had no intention of going that widely.
For the most part, the Morgan Freeman narration works, but in this scene it gets in the way. We don't need to be spoon-fed Norton's intentions during this scene.
I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright.
And also they didn't commit murder, whereas most of the metaphorical birds here actually did. His feather color has less to do with it than his innocence, don't you think?
So you go on and stamp your form, Sonny, and stop wasting my time. Because to tell you the truth, I don't give a
Yes, he said the right thing in the middle there about wishing he could talk some sense into his younger self, but then he patronizes this dude and says, F it. And that's what finally gets him paroled? Does everyone that gets released from Shawshank get given a black suit and a brown hat? I have questions
Maybe.
about Red being unable to take a piss without permission, since the cells that we saw in Shawshank Prison had their own toilets. It sort of defeats the purpose of having individual toilets if you have to ask permission to use them all the time. Like, if Red had to pee at 3 in the morning, would he have needed to yell out and flag down a guard? to
Maybe
ask
it's the
permission?
specific
And you
room
said
they're
Andy
in.
liked
There's
carrying
a
rocks from the
psychological
cell
thing
to the
going
yard
on.
one handful at a time, so if he could go inside and get another handful of rocks, couldn't you have gone inside to use your own toilet? If it was a promise, why'd you wait so long to do this? Why'd you even go to the grocery store and work and I'm gonna add another sin for all the insane bullshit Andy puts Red through to find this goddamn volcanic glass. He couldn't have set up a safe deposit box. He told Red it was amazing what you could accomplish by mail. Seems like he could have at least accomplished that.
You remember the name of the town, don't you?
Man, if you made Red go through all this to find a metal box nobody in the fucking world was going to find, why didn't you just write down the town's name on this paper? Were you worried
Well, that's
Jack
what I
and
was
June were
thinking.
going to roll down the hill and stumble on your note, get the sudden craving to drive to unpronounceable Mexico, and I don't know, book a room at your hotel? When Morgan Freeman says that it's the excitement only a free man can feel, you trust Morgan Freeman for some reason. It's certainly something I wouldn't trust coming out of the mouth of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, only Morgan can narrate this movie.
It's Elmo's favorite thing in the whole world. Yeah, Elmo's bloated.
Don't wait for the translation! Answer me now! What was his name? His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?
Quartz. Some mica. Shale.
The only guys below me will be 4 divorce guy, a murderer guy, and geologists.
If you let me know about these movies, I appreciate it.
Be endowed with all my powers.
From now on, I'll write 2 letters a week instead of 1.
Actually, I think I will need 2 wives.
I always wanted to be in one of your plays.
You can't just make a person up. I'm Batman.
I done tame that mouse.
Smashy, smashy.
Another hilarious video from CinemaSins. Using the voice for the Sesame Street Elmo was absolute gold. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Thank you for watching.